Kevin Lynn here, Executive Director of the Institute for Sound Public Policy. Today is August 20th, 2024, and I'm coming to you on a podcast that wasn't planned, but I wanted to respond sooner rather than later to comments made by President Biden last night with regard to immigration during his speech before the Democratic National Convention. And if you're hearing any construction noises, I will apologize for that up front. They're building an apartment complex right next to me, and sometimes that's just an occupational hazard when I'm recording. But without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play the clip that I want to really focus on of his speech last night.
Then I had to take executive action. The result of the executive action I took, border encounters have dropped over 50%. In fact, there are fewer border crossings today than when Donald Trump left office. And unlike Trump...
Okay, let's talk about that. What he said was there are 50% fewer encounters with him than with President Trump. And there are fewer border crossers than with his administration than with the Trump administration. Well, I want to first go into find where I think he's getting his numbers from, his information from. So I'm going to go look at the U.S. Customs and Border Protection site, and I'm going to scroll down, and let's look at encounter numbers. Okay, so we're looking at July, and we're seeing a number of 56,408 encounters. The month before, June, 83,533. Keep going back into the year. 140,640 for February. And boy, you go back into December of 2023, 249,740 encounters. So it is way down from where it was, but let's see if it's up or down from when the Trump administration was in office. Okay, so I'm going to go into a slide and speak to that number specifically, that 56,408 number. And you have to excuse me again with something else. My Stream Deck isn't working, so I'm finding my slides using my mouse as opposed to just clicking a button. But here we go, Biden numbers. So there's the 56,408. But what's not in that number, because this is the thing. One of the things they're doing is lying by statistics. They're conflating apprehensions with encounters and total encounters. So what the Biden administration has been able to do is really push down their apprehensions by the use of the CBP-1 app. And that is an app that illegal people foreigners, access in another country and basically set up an appointment to enter the country. They're not admissible by any stretch of the imagination, but they are detained briefly and then they're let loose into the interior. So when you add those two numbers together for the month of July 2024, it's 95,382. Now let's take a look. Are his numbers down 50% from the Trump administration? Well, let's look at the last month of the Trump administration, which would be December 2020. So we have that 95,000 plus number and 74,141 for the last month of the Trump administration. The difference is 21,241. So all things being equal, not being equal, but comparing apples to apples as opposed to apples to oranges, including all of the apprehensions, the paroles, the inadmissibles, the admissibles. Trump actually has a better record in terms of encounters. Now, if we want to look at total border crossings, well, that even goes worse for the Biden administration. And I really appreciate a fellow who has a handle on Twitter that of Hart-Celler, which is a reference to the Immigration Act of 1965. But this fellow who goes by the handle Hart-Celler did a great job of comparing fiscal year to fiscal year, fiscal month to fiscal month of the Trump versus the Biden administration. And down here we have the red for the Biden administration or the Trump administration. And you can see just how out of control the border got with the Biden administration. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just amazing what they have been allowed to have happen. And I want to go into one more thing that President Biden said last night. And in the clip that I shared, he opened with it. He had referenced his executive action that he took. And I'm going to go back into Safari because I'm going to show that to you. So his executive action was this. On June 4, 2024, he announced or proclaimed a temporary suspension of entry of non-citizens across the southern border. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, knock me over with a feather. One of the jobs of the President of the United States is to protect our borders. The executive has not only the authority to do as much, but the capabilities to do as much. The Biden administration inherited the Remain in Mexico program from the Trump administration, which was working great in terms of not, really just discouraging people from even attempting to come to the United States illegally. And that was all left to rot in the fields, essentially. And this is what we're reaping right now. And all they can do at this point is try to obfuscate and hide their past record, which is absolutely miserable. So, I believe what President Biden was referring to, what his speechwriter put in there, is inaccurate. But let me know your thoughts. Always eager to get feedback on our podcasts. If you enjoyed this, be sure to either like us or give us a thumbs up, depending on where you're watching. And again, comment and share among your friends, family, and colleagues, because we certainly appreciate getting those numbers in. All right. Have a great day. Kevin Lynn signing out. Bye-bye.